ബ്രഹ്മസ്വരൂപങ്ങളും ആത്മസ്വരൂപങ്ങളായിരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം.
Amma bows down to all of you who are embodiments of pure love and the Supreme Self. At the outset, Amma wishes to thank the Boston Global Forum for conferring this prestigious award on her. Amma feels that if she has made a positive impact on the world, it is solely because she has children who have chosen to selflessly love and serve others. Therefore, this acknowledgement and accolade should actually go to them. Amma's only wish is to offer solace to the suffering, wipe their tears, and comfort them until her last breath. God has bestowed upon living beings an exquisite and eternal divine flower. This undying flower is our sole shelter, planet Earth. Our Earth has an amazing power to provide us everything we need to overcome any challenge thrown at us by the changing seasons and weather. But God has also made us responsible for taking care of Earth and ensuring that her beauty, color, vitality, and fragrance do not fade. What are we doing instead? Are we protecting this rare boon or ruining it? Externally, the gap between man and machine is decreasing. Internally, revenge, hatred, and anger are eating away at the human mind. With advancements in science, man has learned to fly like a bird and swim like a fish, but has forgotten how to walk and live like a human being. We end up destroying ourselves when we fail to handle science and technology with proper discernment. Science and technology do not have any awareness or discerning power of their own. We need to have the right values to direct them. Humans believe that they can conquer the entire universe using science and human intelligence. This is similar to the ignorance of a child who sees the sky through his bedroom window and claims it to be his own. In reality, what man's intelligence has discovered is nothing but a small speck of this infinite universe. Human beings are like waves that frolic on the surface of the boundless ocean, yet know nothing of its depth or vastness. Waves are born and die in the ocean. All living beings are waves in this infinite ocean that is God. We are born, live, and die in this infinite ocean. Just as the wave and the ocean are essentially one, man, nature, and God are essentially the same. Our internal and external conflicts, the greed to own everything, and feelings of revenge and hatred are all a reflection of our lack of understanding of this oneness. Logic and intellect are all that we need to understand how to use machines, but in order for our awareness to expand, we need an all-encompassing perspective. Spirituality is the path to expanding our outlook. It teaches us about ourselves. Modern science now accepts that everything in the universe is interconnected. However, it is often scientists that are discriminatory and divisive in their perception. Amma remembers a story. On a very hot day, 2 workers were digging a well. One of them pointed to the supervisor who was relaxing under a nearby tree and said to his friend, "Hey, look, we're working so hard while that guy is just cooling off under a tree. How is that fair?" "Go ask him yourself," replied the second worker. The first worker dropped his shovel and walked to the supervisor. "We're working so hard in this heat while you just get to cool off in the shade. Why?" "Logic and intelligence," replied the supervisor. "Intelligence? How is that?" asked the worker. "Allow me to demonstrate," replied the supervisor. "I'll keep my hand on this tree trunk. Hit it with all you've got." The disgruntled worker summoned all his energy and slammed down a powerful punch. But just before the punch landed, the supervisor withdrew his hand and the worker's knuckle crashed into the tree. Nursing his broken hand, he went back to his job. "What did he say?" asked the second worker. "Oh, he said it was intelligence," replied the first. "What does that mean?" asked the second worker. The first worker looked around but did not see a tree nearby. Keeping his good hand on his own cheek, he said to the second worker, "Hit my hand." With all his strength, The second worker hit the first worker's cheek with his shovel. The first worker withdrew his hand at the last minute and the blow landed smack on his face. Many of us are like this foolish worker, endangering our own existence with our indiscriminate thoughts and actions. Once a woman came crying to Amma. "My daughter is depressed because she is almost blind," she cried. She was fine until the COVID pandemic hit. Then during lockdown, she shut herself in a room, watching shows and playing games on her phone. She would not even come out to eat. When we tried to make her take a break, she flung the phone and broke it on purpose. She then refused to eat until we bought her a new phone. This trend continued again and again. She wouldn't eat or sleep, and in this way she went through 5 phones. When we finally took away the phone, she started using her laptop. She has already broken 2 of them. Now she suffers from mental illness and is unable to even go to school. What should we do? Thousands of children suffer from such mental illness. Even the best things are only good in moderation. Devices are great tools when used for studies and moderate entertainment. But what's the result of indiscriminate use? Children follow their desires, ultimately leading to their own destruction. This trend needs to be brought under control. There are 2 types of education: education for living and education for life. Education for living is needed to earn financial stability. Education for life is the science of facing trials and tribulations. It is essentially spirituality, and this helps us to learn how to interact with the world and its attractions. An elephant is an elephant, and a horse is a horse. We need to see each as they are, instead of viewing the elephant as a horse, and vice versa. Amma is not undermining the importance of science and technology. We need to maintain a proper perspective and see everything in its own place. The increase in global population has led to rising global hunger as well as mortality due to disease. This prompted researchers to find practical solutions to these problems. Through research, 6-month crops are now harvested in 3 months. Cows capable of giving 2 liters of milk were modified to yield up to 20 liters a day. Most cattle receive antibiotics to prevent diseases. People started adding 75% toxic chemicals to the soil instead of the permissible 5%. We need a healthy body to have a healthy mind. But polluted foods lead to so many diseases, and it's now hard to find safe food. Research started with a compassionate intent, but now our indiscrimination has led to harm. Science and technology should be able to uplift the common person. In many remote villages, there is a shortage of electricity, so we've been able to provide them with solar power. Our university has used technology and haptics to provide vocational training to hundreds and thousands of women. Where schools are distant and transportation is unavailable, children were provided with online classes. Many farmers had encountered years of loss in crop, forcing them to sell their houses and property, driving many to even suicide. We taught them modern farming methods that helped them recuperate their losses and earn a profit in their very first year. Technology remains the same, but it's us who need to decide whether to use it to benefit or harm our society. Nowadays, our pursuit primarily centers around desires rather than necessities. Desires and needs are 2 separate things. We should recognize the difference. For example, a $100 watch and a $100,000 watch will both show the correct time. Telling time is their purpose. The $100 watch is what we need, but the $100,000 watch is just a desire. Amma doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't wear an expensive watch. That's up to us. Amma is just giving an example to illustrate how taking only what we need can aid us in helping others. Understanding spirituality encourages people to fulfill their needs, but to use their discernment when it comes to mere desires. It makes us content with what we have. The English word culture has many meanings. We send a small sample of blood or sputum to the lab for culturing, creating the optimal environment for bacteria in the sample to grow. Similarly, culture also refers to inner growth. For this inner growth to happen, we first need to create a conducive atmosphere at home, then later at school. Amma would like to narrate an incident that happened to one of the hundreds of ashram children, an example of how spiritual values imparted early can influence our lives positively. There is a child who lives in the ashram. She really wanted a specific doll. She cried and fussed, and finally her mother bought her the doll for her birthday. A few days later, it was another girl's birthday. The little girl gleefully gave her doll to the other child as a birthday present. Seeing this, Amma asked her, "You cried so much to get this doll. What made you then decide to give it away?" The little one replied, "Well, she doesn't have a mother. She may also want a doll like this, right? But who will buy it for her? So that's why I gave her mine." "Didn't it make you sad?" Amma asked. "No," she replied. "I actually felt much happier giving her the doll than when I received it myself." When we understand spiritual principles, we begin to see the sorrows and joys of others as our own. Just as the sun does not need the support of candlelight to shine, God needs nothing from us. Like we caress our left hand with our right hand, we should be able to feel the pain of others as our own and reach out to console them. Universities should try to instill these values in youth. In recent years, our university has sent around 4,000 students to remote villages on student internships. When our students personally witness the day-to-day hardships of the villagers, genuine compassion blossoms in at least 10% of them. This has prompted them to do righteous and charitable activities whenever possible. We all have the spark of compassion within us. We just need to awaken this. Human beings and nature are interconnected. It is compassion that keeps everything connected. If this compassion dries up, everything will be lost. In a small pond adjacent to their house, a family cultivated fish to supplement their household income. Many storks and other fishing birds frequented the area. To prevent them from carrying away the fish, a net was laid over the surface of the pond. The pond was surrounded by trees. One day, a frog reached the pond. He tried to jump in, but the net prevented him from entering the water. He saw his relatives in the pond. He was hungry and looked around for some mosquitoes to eat. He saw a goat tied under one of the trees. The frog said to the goat, "I'm so hungry, but all the mosquitoes are in the pond. When I left this pond, the net was not there, and now I cannot get in. Can you please help me move the net so I can get in?" The goat looked at the frog and bleated, "That's your problem, not mine." The frog then approached a pig and asked him the same thing. The pig squealed again, "That's your problem, not mine." The frog finally approached the cow, but it also mooed, "That's your problem, not mine." No one helped the frog get back into the pond. By noon, the woman of the house came out to the pond to catch some fish for lunch. She didn't notice a snake had been trapped in the net and accidentally stepped on it. The snake bit the woman and she was taken to the hospital. The doctors saved her life, but she was still very weak. She was prescribed goat liver soup to help her recover. The family goat was sacrificed for its liver. In a few days, the woman regained enough strength to come home. All of her relatives dropped in to see her, and the pig was sacrificed to feed them. A few days later, the woman's health took a sudden turn for the worst, and she died. The tree beside the pond was cut to make a coffin. Finally, the cow was killed to feed all the guests who came to attend her memorial service. Actually, if any one of them had felt a little compassion for the frog, no one would have been killed. It is compassion that supports all of life. There is a rhythm to this universe, an imperishable connection between the universe and every living creature within it. This universe is like a vast interconnected network. If a net is shaken in one place, the vibration is felt throughout. Similarly, whether we are aware of it or not, all of our actions reverberate throughout creation, be they performed as an individual or as a group. We are not individual islands, but links on a common chain. There is no use in saying, we will change if others change. On the other hand, if we change, we will be able to bring change to the rest of the world. Changing our internal attitude will bring change to our external circumstances as well. In life, there are certain things that we can change and certain others that we just have to accept. For example, someone whose genes dictate a height of 5 feet will not grow any taller, even if he eats more, takes supplements, or hangs upside down. In such situations, we should practice acceptance. However, in other situations where our effort can help, we should try hard to progress. For example, if we fail an exam, we will not abandon our studies, right? We will try again and retake the exam. 3 factors are needed to make any action successful. They are the proper time, self-effort, and God's grace. For example, a man has to travel a long distance in order to attend an auction. So he wakes up early and starts for the airport. Maybe on his way, his car breaks down, or he meets with a small accident and ends up missing his flight. Despite the proper time and effort from his part, he's still unsuccessful because the factor of grace was not in his favor. Divine grace is required to make any action sweet and meaningful. To get grace, we need to perform good deeds. We should learn to have gratitude towards everything in life. We are indebted to everything in this world, to all the creatures that helped us grow and made us who we are today. This earth is our mother. Nature is our mother. We should never forget our debt to our mother. We should not walk away, refusing to pay heed to the cries of our brothers and sisters in pain. We should do whatever we can to help them. To help those in need, we may not need a high position or wealth. All we need to do is offer a loving word, a compassionate glance, and a helping hand. Just these simple acts can make our life and theirs both bright as well as meaningful. It is what we give, not what we take, that determines the value of our life. If we can bring even a moment of happiness to just one person's life, it will greatly enrich our own. May all of you, Amma's dear children, be able to achieve this. May divine grace bless you all.